What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, 3-division world champion, former junior welterweight undisputed world champion, and now the reigning undisputed welterweight world champion, who is widely acknowledged and recognized as the #1 best pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terence "Bud" Crawford, who is 40 wins, no loss, no draw, 31 big wins by way of knockout. At 36 years of age, he stands at 5'8" with a 74-inch arm reach. He weighs in and gives his reaction and his thoughts to legendary network, Showtime, and Showtime Boxing exiting the sport of boxing after 37 years of being in the sport of boxing. Showtime has decided that at the end of the year in December, this will be the last year we see Showtime in the sport of boxing. And Terence Crawford, he had one of the last biggest fights on Showtime to close out Showtime, July 29th, Las Vegas, Nevada, T-Mobile Arena, in a highly anticipated, undefeated, undisputed welterweight showdown. That was the biggest fight in the last decade. That was on paper seen to be a 50-50 fight if there ever were one, against now former unified 3-belt WBA, WBC, IBF welterweight world champion, superstar boxer Earl the Truth Spence Jr. So Terence Crawford, he participated in being one of the last biggest fights on Showtime. We got one more coming up November 25th, and possibly a few more in December. As they stated, Showtime's execs, they stated that they're going to fulfill their obligation for the rest of the year, the remainder of the year, and after that, they're done in the sport of boxing. And so Terence Crawford, he responded to this. He actually responded to legendary 6th-division world champion, Olympic gold medalist, former pound-for-pound king, pay-per-view king, Oscar the Golden Boy De La Hoya, who is now a founder and promoter of Golden Boy Promotions. Oscar De La Hoya, he stated that it was a sad day in the sport of boxing to see Showtime go. And Oscar De La Hoya, he stated that hopefully now we can get, this can be a learning lesson for us to all work together, all the promoters to work together as a team to make the biggest fights happen, and this could be a learning lesson to what's to come or what should not come, right? So this is what Oscar De La Hoya had to say, quote, "I salute Showtime for their near 40-year commitment to the sport that I love. I am hopeful that we promoters can use this unfortunate situation to put our differences aside and start working together more often to help make more of the bigger fights and grow our sport," end quote. So that's what Oscar De La Hoya had to say. To that, Terence "Bud" Crawford, he responded to Oscar De La Hoya, and he said, "Respectfully, Oscar De La Hoya, if the boxers aren't at the table, it is not going to work, period." Then Ryan Garcia chimed in, and Ryan Garcia stated, "Today is a really important day for boxing. HBO and Showtime defined our sport for generations, and now they are both out. All us boxers need to make this our collective fight for us to win." And Terence Crawford responded to that by saying, quote, "I couldn't agree more, Ryan Garcia. The system we have isn't going to fix this. We got to think different. Look at every other sport is building empires by doing it right. Us fighters need to come together. We can fight in the ring, but work together for our sport and our families." So he's saying that we can do this as a collective in unity, right? So this is something I have been stating, a fight that I've been pushing for, is that the fighters need to stand up. Not enough time does the fighters stand up. Okay? Too often do fighters leave other fighters hanging, other situations hanging, right? Because all too often fighters are saying, it has nothing to do with me. but in return, it does have something to do with you as a collective. And so now Terence Crawford is trying to rally the troops, the boxing troops, and saying that we need to band together. If we're not at the table with the promoters and understanding and knowing what's going on, nothing is going to change. Because if you leave the fighters in the dark, they're going to feel slighted. More importantly, I have to add to that, to what Terence Crawford stated. You have to include the fans as well at the table. You have to take the fans into consideration because they are the most important piece outside of the fighters themselves. The fighters and the fans are equally as important to one another because without the fans, there's no financial gain, there's no fights. And without the fighters, the product, you can have all the money in the world, but you don't have a product. So they work hand in hand. When you look at other major sports, like the NFL, they make sure they include the fans. They make sure they have fan votes for MVPs. Fan votes. They have an understanding with their fan base. They listen to the fans' demands. Now, that doesn't mean that they always follow what the fans want. But the important thing is, when you look at the NBA, and you look at the NFL, and you look at Major League Baseball, and you look at NHL, they understand that they got to include the fans. They understand that they have to make the fans feel important. All too often in the sport of boxing, you have promoters, managers, and fighters making the fans feel as if they're incompetent. Making the fans feel like they don't know and understand the sport of boxing because they never put on a pair of boxing gloves. They don't understand and know the sport of boxing because they never trained nobody. They don't know and understand the sport of boxing because they're not a promoter or a businessman or a manager or a network. So all too often, the fans get swept under the rug. And in return, you have situations like this with Showtime. Why? Because if Showtime was having financial gain and they were benefiting from the fights they were putting on financially, they would have never gotten out of the business. Financially, who did that directly include? The fans, not the fighters. It includes the fans because the fans have to go in their pockets and give their hard-earned money for the fighters to live the lifestyles that they live. So, in order for the fighters to benefit, the fans need to benefit. In order for the fans to benefit, the fighters need to benefit. So they work hand in hand, including the fighters. When the fighters have a high demand and a high call for a specific fight, go above and beyond to make said fight and satisfy the fans. But all too often, they put on fights that the fans are not calling for, but then tell the fans they can't have a discount for the fight that they're not looking to watch. So imagine this. Imagine going to McDonald's and ordering a Big Mac, and the owner or the person at the counter tells you, you're not ready for a Big Mac, we're going to give you a double cheeseburger. But the price is still going to be the same. But you ordered a Big Mac. This is what I'm trying to explain. So the fans are demanding specific fights. And they're telling the fans that the fans aren't ready to pay for said fights. So they're going to give them the fights that they want to give them until they feel like the fans are ready to pay for the fights that they demanded. So in return, fans started to find a way to maneuver around paying, and piracy in the sport of boxing became an all-time high. And so therefore, the numbers are dropping. The income from the fans is dropping drastically, because the fans are now saying, well, if you're not going to give me the fight I want to see, then I'm not going to pay for the fight that you're in. When I can watch it for free and find the streaming to watch it for free, since you're not giving me what I want. And then when you do give me what I want, because you didn't give me what I want when I wanted it, then I'm going to stream that as well. All parties involved have to come to a collective agreement. The fighters need to come to a collective agreement. They hear the demands, they hear the whispers, they hear the cries for certain fights. Go above and beyond to attempt to make those fights. Waiting 4 years, 3 years, 5 years. Fans grow tired. They get frustrated. They get fatigued. They no longer want to pay. They'll still watch it, even though they'll say, I'm not watching that. They'll still watch it. They're just going to watch it for free. And if they was able to receive what they wanted when they wanted it, not all the time, because that's not even possible, but to feed the fans and include the fans and make the fans feel important, it'll change everything. The NFL makes sure they have fan appreciations. They make sure they include the fans, MVP votings. The NBA, All-Star votings, fan votes. They make sure they make the fans feel important. Right? When you see an NFL team, they hear the demands. Hence, the Miami Heat trying to get Dame Lillard. They came out. They didn't succeed. He went to Milwaukee. But guess what? The Miami Heat put out a statement. We apologize to the fans because we know the demand that they wanted Dame Lillard. It just wasn't doable. Instead, the sport of boxing to tell you, you don't know what you're talking about. You're not a businessman. You're not a network. You're not a manager. You're not a promoter. You're not a fighter. So if you exclude the fans, they will exclude you with their pockets. So yes, it's extremely important for the fighters to sit at the table with the promoters and the managers. But it's equally as important to include the fans and make them feel important. And these things like HBO and Showtime, who are a staple and a pillar in the sport of boxing, historically, legendary, iconically, would not be just up and disappearing, period. So I agree with Terence Crawford, but I make a slight adjustment and also add in, don't forget to include the fans some way, somehow, and make sure you make the fans feel important. No doubt. And that's all I got for y'all. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue. Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV. All one word. That's all I got for y'all. I'm gone. Peace.